everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Talking Tongue, the now weekly show where I talk to guests far and wide or close, doesn't matter. And I'm going to talk to my friends and family that I miss ever so much because we're all still in quarantine. News update, still in quarantine. That's still a thing, but that's okay. That's why we have the new version of Talking Tongue, the shiny new version where I get to talk about the news of the week with a guest of the week, and we get to talk about a movie that they choose. Now, this guest is very special to me because we talk we never get to talk. And I lie because we actually talk every single day, probably. And this guest doesn't know this, but I use a random adjective generator now to introduce my guests. So you are the classy, tacky Angus MacDonald.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Oh, there's
How do you
no
feel
audience.
about those?
Classy and tacky. Fair. I would say fair.
Yeah.
I think those are. Yeah, I don't know if I fully understand what tacky means.
Does that mean you're lame, or you your style is bad, or or you're out of date, or you're out of touch?
So when I think tacky might be very subjective, but I could be wrong. And listeners, tweet at the show or whatever. And, tell us if we're wrong. But I feel like tacky is kind of subjective. Whereas I might think if I walked into a restaurant and it was, there's just random shit stuck to the walls, I would be like, oh, this is tacky.
Yeah. What's tacky in your mind? Like if I were to walk into a restaurant, blank canvas right now.
Blank canvas?
Just imagine like I come in, no, you come into my restaurant. Okay. Use your imagination. My restaurant is tacky. What does that look like to you?
There's a deer on the wall, but the deer has it's clearly not a real deer head, and it's got sunglasses and a baseball cap on it. That's tacky.
Wow.
One of the booths is made to look like not all of the booths. One of the booths is made to look like you're sitting in one of those old 50s cars with the tail fins. That's tacky.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. Let's say napkins that you draw on. Table. No, that's not tacky. I like that. I like being able to draw on the
You like to be able to draw. You like the crayons given to you and stuff.
I do. I love it.
Well, everything you're describing sounds cool to me, so I guess you're right. I guess it is subjective.
Shame there's no video component anymore. Everyone will be able to see in your room that there is a deer head just like that.
Oh, yeah. That's a pretty... I just bought that recently, so you're actually offending me right now. But Angus, for the people who only exclusively listen to Talking Tongue, because believe it or not, I think there's some audience out there that only listen to the show on the Pod Cavern, which is
the only one I listen to.
You have a show in the podcast too,
it's
but
really hard to record and edit it when I refuse to listen to
it. But Angus, tell the people who you are, what you've been doing in quarantine, what's been making you busy or keeping you busy, and what's been keeping you happy.
Hello, my name is Angus MacDonald. I'm is it fair to say I'm a podcaster / improviser in Ottawa, Canada?
Yeah,
I think I've done enough of each of those that I can say that I'm doing those things. During quarantine, I have been, I've been working from home, sitting at my kitchen table about 4 feet from my couch, where I sit the rest of my time playing video games and watching movies. I really haven't been doing anything that exciting or productive.
Well, you've been podcasting, but you don't edit it, or if you do edit it, you don't listen to it.
Yes, thank you, Tongue. I do edit it. I just don't listen to it.
You just put it out. You're like, it's good.
I look at the bars because obviously I'm not a psycho. I'm not just guessing. I look at the bars and I think, okay, these bars don't look right. I'm just going to cut those. Hope it makes sense. These bars, I'm going to bump those way up or way down. Hope it makes sense. And I don't know.
So when you listen to audio, you look at the visual component, but you're not listening to it. You just want to make sure those bars look good.
Yeah, exactly. I assume. Yeah. I mean, that's what I get out of it. I like a good looking wave. I like a good looking sound wave. I look at MP4s. The most beautiful MP4 I've ever seen? No, MP3. Sorry, I'm going back a bit. MP3. Dare to Be Stupid by Weird Al. Most beautiful. Really? Oh my God. Look at it. The song's fine. I've heard it a few times, but if you look at the wave graph, the wave lines for it, it's beautiful.
Wow. I
Yeah.
think people are learning a lot about you,
Thank
Angus,
you.
which is
I'm a
great.
visual audiophile.
Let's talk about the news of the week. The news
Yeah.
of the week, the segment of Talking Tongue where I just take IGN news and pull it
Okay.
together very
That's
quickly
very,
to see
yeah.
if it sticks and if you like it. The
It was
thing with
really like pop
IGN,
culture news.
yeah, there's always pop culture news. It's nothing. It's never anything important. But we don't need that right now. We don't. People don't need to hear about the latest in COVID. I don't think people want to get their mind off of that and think about pop culture, something really mindless like this. You liked Umbrella Academy,
Yeah. Yeah. It was fine.
okay?
I
Well,
finished it.
Umbrella. Okay, well, Umbrella Academy is coming back July 31st. How do you feel about that? That's really soon.
Is it? What day is it today? Oh wait, can we say
It,
what day it is? I'm
yeah.
losing all sense of time. That's
It's
something I'm
May
doing in
24th
quarantine.
of this recording.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm, a friend of the pod cavern, Ken Hall. I'm excited to see him doing stuff. But
Yep.
that's pretty much the only reason I'd be excited to watch the show right now. I have such a weird relationship with that show. I watched it with my girlfriend Sarah. We watched it together, and just yeah, it was good. It's I don't know why it's a lot like Stranger Things for me, where like I've seen the first two seasons of Stranger Things, and for some reason I have no interest whatsoever in going back to watch any more of it.
I think this is an interesting kind of social thing almost where like people love the brand new shiny thing, but are easily bored of not wanting to watch more of it in a way. It's just, I felt that way of Orange is the New Black. I watched Orange is the New Black and I was like, oh, the show's pretty good. I
Hmm.
really liked it. And then Orange is the New Black season 2 came out and I just never watched any more of that show.
I had a similar thing with what was it, BoJack? I know we were talking with also a friend of the show, Leslie Cherapy, about this. BoJack, it's weird because even BoJack, I would even say I would vouch for its quality even a bit more than say Umbrella Academy, where Umbrella Academy I thought was good.
Mhm.
I'm not super interested in it. But like uh, BoJack Horseman, I actively was like, oh, this is really good, and I watched two seasons of it, and I'm just like, I don't really know if I want to go back to it because of like I just
Mm.
really can't, I don't know if I can sum up why I don't want to go back to it.
I
I think yeah,
That's fair enough. I don't know if I can convince you. I mean, I could say that I think BoJack is one of my favorite TV shows, but
ever.
I find it really hard sometimes. Like I'm not. I really liked Umbrella Academy season 1. I don't think it's the best show ever, but I
Mm-mm.
really enjoyed my time with it. But I don't have the fervor to go to season 2 right now. I don't know what it is.
I had a coworker spoil something from Umbrella Academy, the comic book.
Uh,
Uh,
oh, that sucks.
yeah, and so they said something. I won't spoil it on the show because it definitely hasn't happened in the show yet. So someone was talking to me at work about um, you know uh, sorry, Umbrella Academy, and
Yep.
I was like, yeah, no, I thought it was fine, and they were like, oh yeah, I don't really like this kind of thing, and I was like, oh, that's weird, that didn't happen in the show, and she was like, oh well, it happens in the comic book, and I was like,
Ugh.
oh, okay, so that's a spoiler, I guess
And they didn't
then.
even. I hate that. Oh.
No, it was so I'm just like that's maybe that's part of it too. Like I don't know. We'll see. I
We'll
probably
see.
will watch it, maybe because I feel like the last time I was on Talking Tongue, you made me watch an entire season of Iron Fist. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah.
A
Yo,
terrible.
yes.
You made me watch all of season 2 of Iron Fist, and I hadn't even seen. I still haven't seen Iron Fist season
Oh,
1.
oh, please don't. Season 1 is a far.
Yeah,
It's not very good. Season 2 was acceptable at best.
season
Um,
2 had some cool fight scenes. I'll give
cool
it that.
fights. It definitely had some cool fights.
But Danny
Uh,
Rand wasn't in any of them.
no.
It's all the. I think it was Colleen. Was it Colleen?
Yeah, Colleen Wing. I don't know.
Yeah,
Colleen Wing. Colleen Wing.
Wing.
Speaking of female fighters
Mm,
and superheroes, Ruby Rose. I don't watch any of the CW series.
I don't either.
I just don't. I think they're really cool at a distance, and I love that they did Crisis on Infinite Earth, where they meshed all these DC heroes and villains together in a big big event basically. But Batwoman, played by
Yes.
Ruby Rose, is leaving the show after season 1, which I find is really interesting because she was the titular character. She was
Yeah,
Batwoman.
I will say I did see this. I saw this headline and didn't really click on it because I don't really know. I'm trying to think if I've seen Ruby Rose in anything besides John Wick. Was she in John
No,
Wick?
she wasn't John Wick. I don't actually know her that well as an actress. I just found it interesting. Her reasoning, allegedly from
Yeah.
the articles that I pulled, was that it was too long of hours. Basically,
Oh wow.
it was too much
Was
working
the
hours. She never got used to the Vancouver time,
okay?
apparently, and that is why she's just said, "I don't want to be the Batwoman." Except
So does Batwoman that takes place in the not in the Gotham universe, but
no,
in the DC like
the
the
Arrowverse.
Arrowverse.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Anyways, I just thought that was
interesting.
interesting to
That's
the
an interesting.
reason to
Was it?
not want to work is because you're working too long of hours. I mean,
I mean,
to each their
I've been
own, but
there, but
yeah.
I also didn't get to play a superhero on TV, so I don't know. But I mean, all jobs all jobs suck, right? I have a feeling. I have this suspicion that all
Yeah.
jobs at certain points, even if it's your dream job, there's going to be aspects of it you don't like.
Yeah.
The first season, was it well received? Because I actually didn't watch any of it. I haven't watched any of
No,
Titans either.
again, from Titans as a separate. That's the thing with TV superhero TV shows, is both being comic book fans
Yeah.
to varying degrees. There's just so much
Yeah.
right now that you don't know what's connected. But Titans and Doom Patrol are their own thing.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Wait. So Titans and Doom Patrol, are they together somewhere,
I
or are
don't
they
know.
all
I
three
don't
separate?
actually know that. I
Wow,
think
this
they're
is confusing.
separate, but I could definitely be wrong on that. But the CW stuff is definitely together.
Can I tell you a superhero show I'm excited for? That I
Yeah.
think you might also be excited for. I can't remember if you read this. This was something I think I might have even tweeted about. I really, really hoped this was going to happen, and I believe it is still happening. An animated Invincible TV show.
Oh yeah, yeah. You
Did
did
you hear
tell me
about that?
about this.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah. That would be really cool.
yeah, man.
I'd be
J.K.
into that.
Simmons, Stephen Yeun. There's like some really
Yeah,
cool names attached to it. I think, yeah, God, I can't wait.
that'd be
That's
cool.
going to be awesome.
Speaking of things that you
Mm.
can't wait for,
Ooh.
Community has been kind of popping back up in our lives
Yes.
lately because of all the buzz of the Darkest Timeline podcast with Ken Jeong and
Hmm.
Joel McHale, and just the cast getting back together. It's made me rewatch season 1. I just finished season 1 again in a span of like a week,
Yeah.
which was great. And now it's being talked more and more about that a movie's coming. We talked about this last week on Talking
Yes.
Tongue. But anyways,
I'm so glad you brought this up for me.
the new news for this is a really fluff kind of news, but
Yeah.
Donald Glover did a kind of like a quick pitch on what he would deem as like who's kind of doing this on the fly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this somehow became an article. But he says he loves the idea of Troy being lost, and Abed's mission is to go find him,
Oh, interesting.
try to track someone down. That would be a fun plot.
Yep.
And Dan Harmon saying, yeah, that would write itself. Just put in some Die Hard references and blah, 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 blah.
That's really interesting.
That could be fun.
So I was sitting here on the couch with my girlfriend the day I think we finished. So we recently rewatched all of Community. Well, I did while she was playing video games in the same room.
Yeah.
And we finished watching it on Amazon Prime, I think a day, maybe 2 days before it popped up on Netflix. And so once I saw it pop up on Netflix, I looked at Sarah and I was like, hey, I need you to remember this moment. I'm pretty sure a Community movie is going to happen. And about every couple days since that day, I have seen more and more news arcing towards that kind of final trajectory of like, oh, one of the Russos was being interviewed and he's like, man, we'd love to come back and work on something like that. And I was like, oh, Netflix. And he was mentioning Netflix, the Darkest Timeline podcast. They had the reunion. Did you watch the table read, by the way?
Yeah, I watched that.
Liked
That
it.
was cool. Yeah.
Although I will say my thought, I figured the movie, if they did it, it would revolve more around Donald coming back and having to reunite everyone. But I think going to look for Troy would be also very exciting. But that would be more expensive. I feel like you'd have to go to more locations.
Yeah, I'm having a good time rewatching the show.
It's so good.
I mean,
Have
I
you
only
ever
watched
finished it before?
Yep, I finished
Okay.
it, but I only watched season 5 and 6 once. And I know Dan Harmon came back during those seasons, but I always remember that the show was never the same after season
No,
4.
it peaks at 3. Oh God, no, it's not. It's never the same after 3.
Yeah.
4 is where they lose Harmon, and it's not a great season. 5 is fine. It's better than 4, I would say, and then 6 is better than 5. So like I've watched it with I've watched the show many times, and I've talked to a lot of people about it. I actually had a friend say he was going through it, and he finally finished it. He's like, yeah, I always stopped at around 4 once it starts not being the same anymore. And he's like, and he finished it. And I was always telling him, like, you should finish it. It's not that bad. And he, last night, kind of out of the blue, we were playing a game together, and he was like, oh yeah, you know what? I finished Community the other day, and season 6, not that bad. And I was like, thank you. I felt so like vindicated. It's not like stellar, but I love the.
It's just different because people leave and whatever. But yeah, and everyone's like relationships change and whatever. But anyways, I'm very excited.
God, news.
Now, here's something you might be excited about. Actually, probably not.
You don't think so?
Well, this is not really a thing. I think it's just a funny story.
Mm-hmm.
And the story is that Bane masks, famous from Dark Knight Rises, Tom Hardy's Bane face masks are like specifically the actual mask costume are selling out during the pandemic.
What the fuck?
People
know those aren't going to protect them, right?
So anyways, apparently this mask thing that Bane wore in Dark Knight Rises is selling out like crazy during the pandemic. But funnily enough, the costumes are well in stock. So I love the
giant
idea of
fur-lined trench coats and ballistic vests are still plenty.
That's so much of those. But people are like, no, I don't need the rest of the costume. I'm just taking the Bane mask.
That's funny. And how many people are going to have Instagrams or TikToks or whatever where they're like, you were born, I was born in the quarantine. Oh, you merely adopted social isolation.
I would, if anyone was wearing a Bane mask at a grocery store, I would give them a big thumbs up. I
would give them 2 big thumbs up right into their eye sockets. Tell them to go home.
The Simpsons 4:3 aspect ratio is finally coming to Disney Plus this week, this Thursday, I believe, which is really exciting.
So I've been holding off. I've acquired a Disney Plus membership from a family member, so I'm not paying for it because I don't want to. But fair. One of the things I was, besides watching Mando, like my girlfriend and I, we watched Mandalorian, and then we haven't turned on the Disney Plus app since then. Really, I think maybe once for like Emperor's New Groove.
Such a good movie.
Oh my, hey man, maybe the best. Honestly, maybe one of the best. Maybe one of my. We could
talk about during a ranked one day, maybe. Oh, but anyways, Disney Plus, the Simpsons are coming.
So I will probably be doing a deep dive on Simpsons after I finish, everything else.
So as of this recording, we're preparing for top 5 Simpsons episodes. That's finally happening with folks in the Pod Cavern for Ranked. And I've just been throwing on Simpsons left and right, just like having it in the background while playing Animal Crossing. And it's just been such a wonderful time. Of course, the 4x3 is going to be so much better for those older episodes, so I can see those visual gags. Yeah. But even still, like I've only noticed it sometimes where I'm like, oh, there should be a thing here, or it's weird, like this person, like Homer's head is kind of cut off here. But for the most part, like the jokes are still intact and stuff like that. Obviously, it's still the episodes. I'm very excited for this
center frame. God, I'm insanely jealous. I would love a reason to have to watch The Simpsons as like homework.
Oh, it's been great. It's been great. Just like throwing it on the background and just having it.
Hear me out. If you do a top 10 Parks and Recreation episodes, maybe think of your boy.
It's just I won't actually. As someone who's been on the episode many times, they know it's a top 5 episode. So
wait, what did I say?
10.
Oh God!
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm never going to be on it again.
Hey, you know what else is disappointing? Let's talk about Justice League: The Snyder Cut.
Oh man.
Well, actually, is it disappointing? I think in the way that like the corporations have caved to the whims of the internet. But you know what?
I'm not disappointed. I think people that thought the Snyder Cut was going to fix everything are going to be disappointed.
Yes, that's the thing. Is I'm kind of happy. For the reason that I want people to stop talking about the Snyder Cut.
So this reminds me a lot of the Sonic stuff, and I got a little worried. Not worried, but I don't know. I was very aware of the dangerous precedent being set of like, oh, the fans really reacted violently to something, and the studio delayed it and fixed it. And honestly, I still haven't seen Sonic, but I never was going to see Sonic, so I don't really,
It's a good movie.
Is it? I
It's a
find
good
that
movie.
really hard to believe.
It's a
Incredibly
good
hard to
movie.
believe, actually. Really?
I
Okay.
mean, like it's a good video game movie. In fact, I would say it's a great video game movie.
Better than Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, I mean, Mortal Kombat's cheesy for different reasons, and
Oh, and so
actually, there's a
Sonic's
special.
like completely straightforward ahead and not cheesy at all? Okay, cool.
Mortal Kombat is the like retro cheesy, is what I
God,
mean.
I love Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, so I definitely has a soft spot in my heart. But
Top
Jim
5 video
Carrey as
game movies?
Eggman. It could happen one day. I mean, Sonic would be right up there.
Yeah.
Anyways, with Justice League.
Justice League, yes. I think I'm not going to watch it probably because I did I see. Holy shit! I think I saw Justice League in theaters.
Yeah,
I might
me
have
too.
seen that in
I
theaters.
saw it
Wow.
opening weekend. I
Yeah.
believe.
How
Yeah.
like you get in these patterns where you're like, oh, I've seen every Marvel movie with this friend, right?
Mhm.
I had that with a buddy of ours with the DC movies, and so we saw Man of Steel together, we saw all the Dark Knight movies together, so we were like, shit, I guess, and we went and saw Suicide Squad together, and we're starting to be like, geez, these really suck. and then he drags me to Justice League. I think he even paid for my ticket, and I was like, fuck it, yeah, sure, I'll go see. Oh, can we swear on this show?
Oh yeah.
All right, cool.
You've been on the show too.
I mean, once a million years ago.
Yeah.
Oh no, I guess twice. We did Star Wars, didn't we, with Sam?
Yeah.
We did, didn't we? Anyway, yeah. So are you going to watch the Snyder Cut? Or are you at all curious what's different?
I'm very curious, but I mean, it's coming to HBO Max now. The thing is, I don't want to sign up for another subscription service. I would do a trial, maybe to watch it, if anything. But the curious thing is that it's going to be either a 4-part series or a very long movie, because the original vision was like a 4-hour, 5-hour thing.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that was the original vision.
Okay.
There's going to be no new footage, as far as I know, in terms of getting the cast to film more stuff.
Oh, I see. No reshoots. Gotcha. Yeah.
No reshoots or no additional shoots, essentially.
Yeah.
HBO
Gotcha.
Max is willing to fork over, I think it was $20 to $30 million for post production. So they are definitely paying money.
So they're going to finish
it.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So like a lot of the effects are obviously not done. There was rumors of like Green Lantern, that kind of stuff.
Oh, interesting.
But they will, and they said they would pay for additional voice acting.
Okay.
In terms, like some of the CG
like,
characters, Darkseid might need that kind of stuff. So it's interesting, but I don't know. I don't know.
What if it's comes out and it's really good and everybody really likes it and they change the direction of the DCEU yet again?
I don't know if they. I guess they could do anything.
Do you think it'll be better than the Whedon cut?
I think people will fight for both sides. In fact,
what do you think? Do you think it will be better? You, Tung La.
Sure. Yeah. I'll say it'll be better because it'll be the original vision of what that movie was.
I agree with you. I think it might be better because it might be more coherent.
Yeah.
It's very clear in the theatrical version. It's very clear that this is a movie that they redid a bunch of it. It's like,
not that I love the Snyder stuff. I've been on record saying I think Birds of Prey is the best DCEU movie that's come out.
Sure. I thought you were a Shazam guy.
No, I like Shazam.
Yeah.
I like Shazam. Birds of Prey is better, in my opinion. But anyways, it's interesting. But speaking of this, I just read yesterday even, that the David Ayer is really trying to vouch for people to go release the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad.
Oh wow! Sorry,
and he's doing it real hard, and people were just like, because he has so much footage of Jared Leto's Joker. And he basically was saying this for years now, saying that he had enough footage to make that its own movie, essentially, which I think is like whatever.
So, yeah, I was not a huge fan of the Joker redesign for Suicide Squad, but I will say I gave them a lot of credit in terms of like, yeah, no, you took it in a totally different direction. I am willing to hear you out. And then I went and saw the movie, and he's barely in it. So I was like, why did you take this biggest swing if you weren't going to like have him
Oh,
in the movie. So I will
yeah.
say I'm really curious, but once again, I don't think that's going to save that movie either. That movie
Yeah.
has so many more problems than the Joker.
That movie
I
sucks.
was even talking to you about it the other day. I ranted in a chat the other day. I was like, why is Deadshot doing trick shots when he's introduced and then never again for the rest of the movie?
I know.
Why,
It
why
makes no
doesn't
sense.
Captain Boomerang do one thing? They bring him to the team because he's a safecracker, and I'm fairly certain that the climax takes place in a bank. Why is he not cracking some vault? Like what? Oh God, they don't
Yeah.
use the team. They put the team together and then do not use anyone's abilities.
Listen, I can
God,
shit talk that movie
sucks.
for hours on end, but
Great
I will
trailer.
not.
Great.
Let's talk about something positive here. Let's talk about how that Space Force, the Netflix TV show with Steve Carell, like the workplace comedy, comes out this week too. So this week's pretty jam packed.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
I don't know if I'm going to watch it. What is that on? Is that on? That's on Apple?
Netflix.
Netflix. Oh, really? Netflix. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Maybe.
Another thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, maybe I'll watch it if it's on Netflix, but I don't know.
It's on Netflix. Yeah. I could go for another easy to. Ben Schwartz is on it. If that helps sell it to you.
Interesting.
No.
I'm finding John Ralphio. I'm rewatching Parks and Rec right now. I'm finding John Ralphio way more annoying than I'm finding.
I love him so much. Well, that's what his character is. Let's be fair.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think very little of that show ages poorly. John Ralphio a little bit.
So here's something that will just annoy you. I have two more stories before we'll get into our movie of the week. Tenet, the new Christopher Nolan movie. Now, this happened on May 21st, but the new story was new trailer premieres tonight on Fortnite. Now,
pardon me, they played the trailer for Tenet on Fortnite?
Sorry. The trailer premiered on Fortnite for Tenet.
How does that mean? So everyone who was playing their game stopped for a moment and it showed them the trailer, or
do you know that I already forget who was the star, but they literally had like a concert in Fortnite where, God, I already forget his name. That's how little I care about Fortnite. But basically, I thought it was fascinating that this is now becoming a platform for other things to be part of. So basically, what happened was like I'm already forgetting who it was, but this pretty popular icon came onto Fortnite to do like a digital concert. No, it wasn't Thanos, but it was like this person came into Fortnite and there was a digital concert to like release like an album or something like that. Sure. And now Tenet, for whatever reason, Christopher Nolan of all people, which is so weird, released the trailer premiere on Fortnite. What the fuck?
When I think of Christopher Nolan's, like the bulk of Christopher Nolan's fan base, I do not see very much crossover with the players of Fortnite.
I know. That's such a weird thing. Like,
Jesus Christ.
I hate that this is the direction people are going to right now.
I guarantee you Christopher Nolan was not the one to be like, we have to get it on Fortnite or whatever. Like the guarantee he didn't. So like that is a marketing. That is a clear. That's okay. That's one of the problems I had with Outward, a movie I still haven't watched, where the trailer for it came out and it was like starring what's his name, Chris Pratt and
Onward.
Oh, did I say Outward? Oh, Outward game. Yeah, Onward. Chris Pratt and what's the new Spider-Man's name? Holy shit.
Tom Holland.
And I was like, oh, wow, they literally just picked, because like when the trailer came out, those two guys were the two most talked about guys I was hearing about in Hollywood. The most to talk about like actors that in that moment. So I was like, oh, this is like the most uninspired cast I've ever seen. And I'm sure it's a fine movie, and I'm sure they specifically did a fine job.
They did.
Like I was not asking to see those two titans of acting come together and do this. You know what I'm told is a very touching animated movie. And Tenet on Fortnite kind of reeks of that same. For me.
We watched a little bit of a tangent. We watched Onward a couple weeks ago with Sam Leggett, and
are you plugging your other show?
And the movie is, like, we mentioned this in our own private chat, but it is a good movie. Like, it's not going to blow your mind away, but you will have I think a pleasant time. It is a very short run time of like an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes.
I love an
fantasy setting. It's easy to digest. There is a good message in it. Again, it doesn't break new ground, but the setting itself and just like the lightheartedness is like an easy way to just like, spend an hour and 40 minutes.
And I'll put it on at some point. It's funny. I find we're in this area right now where I know a lot of people they'll say like a movie's good, and then I think I can tell that they're like feeling bad that they just called it good and not more. Like it's okay for a movie to be good and not great. Like
Yeah,
it's okay for a
I
movie
think
to
so
be
too.
good. So
Yeah,
I'll
I
see
think so
people and
too.
they'll be like, I'll be like, oh, what'd you think of that? And they're like, it was good. It was good. And then they'll pause and be like, you know what? No, that's not fair. It was really good. I had a lot of fun. You know what? I had a lot of fun. I could just shut my brain off. And I'm like, it's okay to just say a movie's good.
Yeah,
Don't have, and not every
I
movie
would
needs to blow
recommend
your mind.
Onward.
Okay.
I would recommend Onward. That's it. I think it's a good time. It's a good time. Final piece of news here. Let's see. I feel weird not mentioning Animal Crossing, so I'll do my real
Go
quick
for it.
Animal
Yep.
Crossing, which is that the animal talking late night show basically was like a game, not a game show, a late night TV show where they just did a late night TV show on Animal Crossing, inviting guests from all over the place. And basically, the season 2 is premiering with get this, Shaggy and Sting. So that means this. I thought it was an amazing thing. So basically, Angus, I don't think you don't play Animal Crossing, but
don't. I don't, but that seems even further. The Venn diagram of Fortnite players to Chris Nolan fans at least has some crossover. I can't
yeah.
imagine the Venn diagram of people playing Animal
Well,
Crossing who love Sting and Shaggy.
it is incredible the
That's
shock
ridiculous.
that, like, because these people have to have Animal Crossing to
Mhm.
be on the show. That's like the only prerequisite,
And we're
basically.
talking about Sting, the singer, right? And not the
Oh
rapper.
yeah. And
Like,
not only that, it's apparently they're releasing new music on Animal Talking, which I think is great. The host is the one of the writers, or the main writer of Rogue One, actually. And
what the
he's been,
fuck?
yeah, and
Rogue
this
One,
show has,
the darkest Star Wars movie, the most
but this
delightful medium.
oh yeah, and this show has blown up considerably. Like a lot of like people and famous people have been getting on the show. But yeah, Shaggy and Sting going to be on Animal Talking, which I think is hilarious.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
My last news story here
I
was
feel like we had
that,
2 news stories about 8 news stories ago.
oh, I know, I'm sorry, but
No, I
you're
love it.
such a
I love it. It's good
juicy
to talk to
person
you.
to talk
We
about
never
this
get to
too.
talk.
Exactly, except for every day.
Except for
The last news story is that NVIDIA, famous for making video cards, basically, they basically created this basically AI
Mhm.
that watched 50,000 Pac-Man episodes of gameplay, essentially. And I don't know what deems as an episode, quote unquote, but
What
I'm
is
just
an
reading
yeah?
through
What's
this.
an episode of
Um,
Pac-Man? Was there a Pac-Man
but
TV show?
no, I think they watched
Like runs?
50,000 runs of
Okay, sure, sure.
Pac-Man. Now, this AI was able to develop Pac-Man the game simply by watching this without using a game engine.
Wow, that's really cool. So they reverse it. So an AI reverse engineered the game Pac-Man just by watching it be played 50,000 times.
Yeah, and
God,
the
that's so
underline
dope.
is without an actual game engine. They just watched it and they created it, and it's fully playable right now, which I think is super
Wow,
cool.
that's
Yeah,
very
so
cool. Wow, that's really really cool.
yeah.
Like a little background for listeners. I went to college for game development and then didn't get a job in game development. No, I guess I kind of did. So that's really that's I'm trying to wrap my head around that how they did.
Yeah.
That's very 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 impressive. It's like that Unreal demo that came out also this. I think that was also this week, wasn't it? Or was that
Yeah.
last week? The new
I
Unreal
don't
demo,
remember. It's
and
all a
it's just
blur
like
now.
they're talking about like how many polygons they can get on screen and their lighting, and I'm just kind of sitting there being like, if this is true, this is insane. How did they do this?
Yeah, it's the technology is scary. With this thing, it's so impressive because it's like this thing was.
Wow.
It could just mean that games could be possibly made faster with this type of like AI learning, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Wow.
really nuts.
God,
But
what does that
anyways,
mean for what does that mean? That's going to change if that catches on, that would change the entire landscape of game development.
hmm
And or make it more accessible because you could just go into whatever and be like, I want to make a game like this. And it's like, okay, well, here's that game. So start tweaking whatever you want. That's going to
yeah,
get legally very messy, but really interesting.
very exciting. But
Yeah.
you know what else exciting, Angus?
What's that?
Our movie of the
Oh,
week.
baby.
We are talking about this week. Angus actually brought this movie up to me a few weeks ago,
Yes.
and this is the first time on Talking Tongue where the guest watched the movie weeks ago. So
Weeks
it's not as fresh, but Angus has just an unlimited supply of brain power for movies.
I really do. I wish I could remember formulas as well as I could remember what year a certain Arnold Schwarzenegger movie came out. Surprise, 1994.
But Angus, what is the movie of the week this week that we're talking about?
The movie is the 2019 film. It was released on September 20th. I'm on the IMDb page. September 20th, 2019. Villains.
I feel like I might be able to read people just like that. I'm gonna try right now. Your clothes look expensive, and this is a pretty house. But you know what I think the most telling thing about you is?
Come on, baby, there's nothing down here.
It's the little girl you got chained up in the basement.
All right.
Starring, let me do the little professional rundown. Starring Bill Skarsgård, Jeffrey Donovan, Kira Sedgwick, and Micah Monroe. Directed by Dan Burke and Robert Olson, who also wrote it. Do you want me to read the little log line they have here?
Yeah, let's get the synopsis.
After a pair of amateur criminals break into a suburban home, they stumble upon a dark secret that two sadistic homeowners will do anything to keep from getting out. I really liked this movie. I'm really curious what you. There's a lot to like about this movie, and I would actually echo a bit of what I said earlier. Not the most mind-blowing movie, but I liked it, and it made me happy when I watched it. And it was a little thought provoking, and then and that's why I wanted to recommend it to you.
Yeah, so let's unpack that. This is a horror comedy. That's how they pitch it on the Wikipedia, which is a weird thing.
Comedy, drama, horror on IMDb, which I actually agree with. There are some really funny moments in this.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say it's more, to me it feels more comedy than horror, but there's definitely those aspects of horror in there for sure, right?
Well, yeah, like we've all seen movies tilt from something really funny into really serious. But something this movie did that stood out to me was they went from a really serious moment and they cut back to our heroes who are like tied up in a basement and stuff like that. And I think one of them's really injured by this point. And the two of them are like, they're a couple and they're just having this, like, they're doing this bit that they do as couples about like starting a new business and stuff like that. And it's like really sweet. And it completely makes you forget about the horrible, like tense situation that they're in, because the two of them are like, they're very charismatic. They've like all the four leads in this movie. This is a very small cast. This movie's like 8 to 10 people. They're
like maybe like in this movie. 6 people. I don't know. Like 4 leads. 100%. And then one supporting character that gets one line, and then one cop.
There are 7 people on the IMDb page for cast.
Very small. I was thinking about that.
So I mean, how do we break this down? Do we talk a bit about the plot of the movie?
Yeah, let's do that. And I guess I can start by saying that I did like this movie well. And I can see, and I would echo that it doesn't blow my mind away. But I do like how they handled the movie in terms of pacing and what happened in the movie. And I felt like fulfilled in the way that there's enough stuff going on in the movie that it kept my interest the entire way. And the cast was very good. I really was drawn to the father. I thought was really good, like the dad character. Like he just had like that creepy, and he was really interesting to me. But I would say every character was pretty interesting to me as well. Like I really like Bill Skarsgård. The mom was really fun.
I would say like she's incredible. She like truly, like, I mean, even the ending, like, I don't know how much you get into spoilers in this. The kind of the last thing you see her do is great and kind of haunting. It's just like okay. So can I just say one really quick thing about like maybe my favorite aspect of this movie? So this was not a kind of movie that my girlfriend wanted to watch. So I was waiting. It was late one night. She was going off to bed. I was staying up for a bit, and I was looking through Amazon Prime. This is on Amazon Prime, by the way. Plug for Amazon Prime. I really like their library. Their catalog has lots of good, not just off mainstream stuff like this. A lot of really cool stuff. I saw that the runtime was an hour and a half. It's 90 minutes. And I was like, I can watch a 90-minute movie. It's only, it's only midnight. And I loved it. This movie has a 6.2 on IMDb. That seems too low. I would bump that up quite a bit.
It has an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes,
Really?
but what is scores
Okay.
these days,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So,
Who cares? You know,
like,
yeah.
if I had to arbitrary scale, I would give it. Actually, I have no idea. I would say it's a good movie.
I would
I
give
would
it
say it's
like
a good movie.
Metacritic Metascore. It's got like a 63. I would say it deserves at least a 75.
Sure.
I'd say probably 75, 78, somewhere in there. Once again, not a great, not like, you know, not so this movie actually reminds me a lot in plot and structure to a movie from I think like the late 80s, early 90s that I watched with my dad called The People Under the Stairs. I don't assume you've ever seen that movie, right?
Never even heard of it.
So it's got a very similar premise. These two guys, this guy and like his son or nephew or like surrogate son, they're in like a rough neighborhood and they break into this house to steal stuff from them. And they find out that the two owners of the house not only are still home, but they're also like religious like psychos who have people locked up in their basement. And one of the people who got locked up in the basement, he's got like no tongue missing, or his tongue is missing, and he lives in the walls and stuff like that. And the father or husband in this religious couple wears a full gimp suit and chases the hero around the house with a shotgun. Also, the hero is like a 10-year-old kid. It's great. It's a really great movie. But it's also like tonally, it's like really it's kind of campy. There's some weird camera angles and camera moves. It's not like not a Christopher Nolan movie. Let's put it that way. You know?
No Tenet. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's got this great feeling. And so this, I knew the premise. It's like, okay, so this young couple, they were literally robbed like a convenience store for a couple $100, and then they need gas because their car breaks down. They need gas, and they break into this house, and then they find a little girl chained up in the basement, and they're like, well, we can't just leave this. They're immediately like I love that, like Bill Skarsgård's character, whose name is, what is his name? Mickey is only momentarily saying like, okay, we should leave this kid and just get the fuck out of here. And his partner Jules says, no, obviously stay, we got to help this kid. And that's it for the rest. After that moment, that's about 20 minutes in the movie, less. After that, they are our three heroes, basically this couple and this small child, are more or less on the same page. And it's like, okay, at least our heroes, our two adult heroes, are like, they're together. And I found that I feel like a modern movie would stretch this out to 2 hours and have like a 20 or 30-minute sequence where our two heroes are like at odds with each other. And they're just such a good couple. That's, even though they're criminals, you want them to win because they're like, I don't know. They're just like, they're so cute together.
And it doesn't seem like they are criminals. And the beginning reminds me a lot about, I wrote a note about, it gave me Pulp Fiction vibes, like just the beginning.
Honey Bunny and
just like,
Pumpkin.
Yeah, exactly. That was just like, they're being very sweet to each other. And then they rob a place in a very charismatic way.
Yeah,
and that's about as much as the Pulp Fiction stuff ends. But that really was, I got that vibe instantly when the movie started. Mm-hmm. And then, I agree with that. Like they're really together. And I think it's because like they are bad people in the way that, they carry guns around and they rob people, but it seemed like it was all because they wanted to start up a shell shop in Florida on a beach. And that was the end.
A better life. So that's like, this movie has incredibly efficient storytelling and some incredibly, they're just the payoff of these moments. That's the thing. Like, so sometimes when you watch a movie, maybe even a Christopher Nolan movie, not to drag his name around too much, he's getting a lot of play today though.
He is. He doesn't need it though. He's very famous.
This little guy, Chrissy Nolan's. So sometimes when you watch a movie like that, it can be, you need to watch it a few times to like fully grasp what the creators and performers are trying to convey to you in each moment. I find sometimes I'll need to rewatch something and be like, oh, that's what they're going for in this scene. I feel like everything in Villains, I watched it once through and I'm just like, okay, I know exactly what they're going for, what emotion they're trying to elicit. They're very good at pulling off these tense moments. In fact, there's this great moment in the middle of the film, or maybe a bit closer to the end, where like our heroes are basically about to escape, but due to miscommunication, they end up getting caught again because they think
and we can spoil this movie for sure, like that. It's essentially the part of the movie where he's about to leave the house and she has like the baby,
the doll,
glass doll.
So this couple that lives here, they have a kid locked up in their basement because they are unable to have children for one reason or another. They're unable to have children. So I guess they steal children.
They
and
stole
then
a child.
they stole a child. The mother will say, well, Gloria and George are the villains. Gloria has a doll that she believes to be her child, and she talks and acts with it like you would a real baby. And Keira Sedgwick is so committed to it that it's really fucking creepy.
Oh yeah.
And so Jules, well, so here's the thing. Even before that, Mickey and Jules are tied up in the basement. They get caught by these guys, basically. They're trying to save the kid. The kid doesn't want to go with them because the kid is, 6 and been brainwashed by, and locked up in a basement. They don't know what's good for them. They're trying to escape, and they both get caught, and they're tied up in the basement. The picking lock, oh God, I just can't. Tongue, this movie's amazing.
Yeah. Do you want to pick locks now after this? Like,
Oh
do
my
you
God.
feel like you got it down?
I feel like I should learn how to do it. So one of the things that's the great thing about this movie. Okay, efficient storytelling. So throughout the movie, they show us that Bill Skarsgård's character Mickey can pick locks. What they also teach us is that Jules,
sure,
she has a tongue piercing. She has a stud in her tongue, a bar through her tongue, and she clicks it on her teeth. And he's the good boyfriend he is, or maybe annoying boyfriend he is, reminds her that that's going to mess up the enamel on her teeth. And it seems like a little thing, and it's meant to just communicate.
Or like a joke or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a joke, or it does a great job of communicating exactly what kind of relationship they're in. And you think that's it. But then later on, the two of them are back-to-back handcuffed to a pole in a basement, and they don't have anything to pick the locks. Jewel starts clicking her stud on her teeth, and you can see the character Mickey and the audience have the same epiphany at the exact same time. Oh, use the tongue stud to pick the locks. But how do you get a tongue piercing out without your hands? And then thus begins one of the most harrowing parts of the movie.
Yeah.
In which you have to use your teeth to pull out your girlfriend's.
That looks so painful.
Well, and then,
I was thinking
so many great moments.
I really like, I'm always drawn to kind of like deceivingly fucked up families in the way that's just really? It always reminds me of like those like zombie games or whatever. It happens in like Walking Dead. It happens in like video games all the time where it's just like, oh, come in for dinner, like really nice family, and you're like, you seem fishy. You're probably fucked up, and you probably have a weird like kind of twisted past or whatever like that. I get drawn to those stories. So this like in this movie, it definitely like drew me in the way like comparatively to other families like that in fiction, they are not that messed up in the grand scheme of things. Like they seem to be like, they're definitely kind of nutso, kind of crazy.
You make a great point, because that is like a genre. And even the movie I mentioned before, The People Under the Stairs, you break into this house, it seems like a normal family, and then you slowly reveal that they're abnormal. This one actually has a great twist to it, because our heroes, if I'm not mistaken, I watched it a couple weeks ago, our heroes find the kid before they meet the quote unquote villains.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So these people are messed up because they've got a kid chained up in their basement. Then you meet them. Then they try to be normal. So you are on the same page as our heroes because you know about the kid in the basement, and the bad guys don't know that you know. So they're trying to pretend to be normal. And
the other thing with that is that like
it works so well.
Compared to like other stories, it's usually like, oh, these people usually try to lure you in, then they try to like eat you or something like that.
These guys,
where in this case, they're just like, just get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here. We won't tell anybody.
Sort of, quote unquote. They don't seem to like actually like slap her around or punish her in any way. They just lock her up. They just lock her up.
Okay, no, it's a weird choice of words, but I totally get what you mean. It is the kind of thing where it's like you could see the want from our hero's perspective to be like, shit, I don't know, that's a pretty good excuse.Maybe they are just a weird family and that's just how they discipline their kids. I'm just going to get the fuck out of here with my, with my money and some gas for my car. It's, oh man, there's some great, do you have any like favorite moments from this or call like that? The enamel on the teeth one was just one of many things where they plant a seed for like later on in the movie. It's so great.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I wrote a bunch of random notes in here, like thinking like, this just reminds me that cocaine is great.
Yes. Oh my God.
No, but more in the way that they make cocaine seem like the best drug ever.
Yeah, it's like Wolf of Wall Street. It's a drug that will not only save your life, but also like a friend's life. That is the same thing in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, so in this one, it's just like cocaine basically gives them the creative boost to think of ideas, but also literally saves them from the situation they were in when they were like overdosing.
Well, yeah, that's the part that yeah, that's the part that doesn't really make any sense. But it's like, oh, because that's the thing. Our villains have our heroes tied up near the end, and they're like, "Don't worry, we're just gonna feed you, and we're gonna move on, and then we'll call the cops, and they'll find you tied up in our house." And the heroes are like, "Oh, great, okay, cool, let's have some dinner." And then they eat the dinner, and they're like, "Haha, just kidding. That's full of drugs. You two junkies are gonna overdose." And they're like, "Oh shit." And then hilarity ensues. A police officer shows up, and our heroes kind of get shuffled off to another room while they're overdosing. And in that moment, they are able to take some cocaine from their magical drug bag, both of them, and they are able to, I guess, kind of. Well, so I guess maybe the rationalization was that they were giving them drugs so that they would pass out, so that they could then overdose them, so that the amount they had in them wasn't necessarily lethal, but it was going to render them unconscious. And
it's drugs, quote unquote. You don't know what kind of drugs. So
I honestly, I didn't. You're so far into the movie at that point that you just buy into it. You're like, yep. This works. Coke gives you superpowers.
Exactly. And so honestly, I would say that was one of my favorite parts of the movie was the cop coming in. I love that stuff where it's just like, oh, what's the cop gonna do? Obviously, I think
does the cop make it? I can't remember. The cop leaves.
The cop makes it.
Yeah, he leaves. I forgot about that.
It's just like a tension building thing.
Very low body count for a movie.
Yeah, and I think like if anything, the villains, the true villains of the movie, plan of shooting the cop in the basement is a bad plan.
It's a terrible plan. It's a terrible plan.
Considering how like well thought out most of their plans are. I wouldn't say they're like masterminds, but like they usually think logically enough. But to shoot a cop in your own basement when he's on patrol, bad plan.
Yeah, he's got like a radio ready to go. I think the extent of the villain's plan in this is let's just not let anyone in our house, because once people get into their house, all their dirty laundry is pretty much immediately exposed. I mean, we haven't even talked about the scene between Mickey and Gloria where she tries to
the dominatrix stuff.
Yeah, and it's fucking wild, and it's just like it's tense and uncomfortable, but it like I don't know, it works. It's like it made me really uncomfortable. Like
oh yeah, I mean for him to say mommy
right
to get the reaction of like, oh yeah, you're gonna put a baby in me or whatever, keep calling me mommy, basically.
That's what you got from so for our listeners, our hero, our male hero Mickey, is separated from his partner, and he is handcuffed to a bed, and Gloria, the female villain, essentially just tries to seduce him with this role playing and have her way with him, but it's like a very like maternal role play, and it's very like creepy and uncomfortable, and it doesn't work. He's not into it, and she gets really, really mad. So eventually he tries to win her over by playing into her fantasy, like and calling her mommy and stuff like that, and it's really, really creepy.
Oh yeah,
but it's like but all of it works.
Her feeling the boner and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's a fun little creative thing where he like tries to think of his girlfriend, and it truly they switch the actresses, and it's just him doing a scene with his girlfriend now at this point. But it is like it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But you see why he's doing everything, because he's like, well, yeah, no, like this is, because she's like basically like, well, if this doesn't work, I'm going to kill you. So he's like, no, I'm into it, and plays with it. Can I get my hands free kind of thing, and just like there's so many so close to escape moments. It's great. Like I mean, do you want to talk about the ending real quick?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if we can touch on anything before that here.
Stand-up moments.
Ooh,
I mean, yeah,
I did like okay. One stupid thing, little plot thing in the movie that I just thought was dumb was when they trick the couple to go outside to make them think that they left, and their plan was to hide behind the curtains in the kitchen. I thought was really stupid.
I
in
thought
a funny
that was
way,
fucking hilarious.
Because
that's the thing. Our heroes are smart, but only so smart, and they're also like they also do a lot of drugs. So when that's at that point, they're on coke,
cocaine,
right?
Yeah.
So they think it's a good idea to hide behind almost completely transparent curtains. The villains don't see them. I don't know. That's the thing. We often see moments go from from funny to serious. I think it's a lot harder to go from a really serious moment to a really genuine laugh. And
I should clarify, stupid in a comedy way.
Oh yeah, no, I get what you.
But then it transitions almost instantly, because the next scene is a really weirdly villainous but touching relationship between both
Our
villains when
villains.
they're talking about like cardboard cutouts and how it's all about them and
Yes.
stuff. And there's like a little bit like of empathy between the villains, even though they're like shit people, but there's
Well,
something there that you can be like, oh, this is nice that they love each other.
You really get to learn the two main relationships between Jules and Mickey and George and Gloria. You get to learn basically how you learn the ins and outs of both those relationships. And the shocker, our heroes have a much healthier relationship than our villains.
Yeah.
And the two of them, like George is very clearly like brainwashing Gloria to a certain degree to like keep her quote unquote happy and stuff like that. But like the whole talk of like, I listen to a lot of podcasts about like cults and serial killers and stuff like that. And the whole like mentality of like, oh, everyone else is just a cardboard cutout. We're the only two real people is shockingly a very realistic thing for some people to think. Like,
oh, I can totally believe that. Yeah.
So I loved, and the movie's so tight too. Like I cannot stress this enough. This movie is like, if it was a minute longer, I would like, I don't know how to phrase this properly, but like 90 minutes is the perfect length for this.
Yeah. I don't know if I need to see more of it.
No, you don't.
But another thing I liked about this movie is that these people all have pretty long IMDb pages. The only one that I really recognized, I recognize Kira, but I don't actually like looking at her IMDb page. I don't actually seen stuff that I've like seen her in. But Bill Skarsgård's really the only one that I recognize more because of It Chapter 1 and 2. But he was in Pennywise costume back then, so not really.
Okay.
So the thing with this movie is in a way they're lower quote unquote tier actors. There's no one like that's such a big celebrity that it distracts you from the movie.
I think the casting is a home run in this. Like everyone does their job so well. And yeah, like I think it's the exact opposite of the thing I was talking about earlier, where you just picked like the most famous people you could get. Like Bill Skarsgård is really, really, really good in this movie. I want to see more of him. I thought he was great as Pennywise. I was a little surprised to see him in like not super heroic. Like villains is an apt name. Our heroes aren't that good. They're still criminals too, but they're just more likable criminals. He's great in this. And weirdly, I don't know if you guys ever delve into this kind of thing. So I've only really seen him in It, Chapter 1 and 2, and then I think he had a small cameo in Deadpool 2.
Yep, that's literally my
So those three movies, he's got a lot of makeup on, and he kind of looks really creepy. In this movie, I was like, oh wow, Bill Skarsgård's very handsome.
That's so funny.
They're a really cute couple.
Laura was watching in the background, and she said that she was barely watching the movie, but she said she could probably tell you the plot of the movie, even though she didn't watch most of it. But the thing that she like mentioned that gave me a good laugh was that Bill Skarsgård looks like a young Steve Buscemi.
Oh my God, you're right. Yes. No, weirdly enough, I watched Miller's Crossing a couple weeks back. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a Coen Brothers movie. No. And it's like a Prohibition era gangster, or maybe not Prohibition. It's like an old timey gangster movie. It's really good. I think I recommend it. But Steve Buscemi's in it, and he's very young. And you're absolutely right. He does look like Bill Skarsgård. And oddly, like also, Steve Buscemi looks very handsome in Miller's Crossing. It's like, they're like thin and gaunt and pale and big buggy eyes. And I don't know
something about that face is like, it's like ugly and handsome at the same time. So it draws you in. But before we end the conversation about villains, let's talk about that ending real quick here.
And it got me.
What did you think about the ending?
I really liked it. I mean, at a certain point I was like, oh, of course it has to end this way. I mean, so our heroes don't escape unscathed, but they do escape. Jules escapes with the child. I think she's only referred to as Sweetie Pie in the credits because that's all what her quote unquote parents call her. But unfortunately, Bill Skarsgård, as handsome as he is, doesn't make it. He and George end up both dying. I really liked it. I mean, it worked for me. Just like it's such a small scale moment. So literally our heroes are in the car, in the garage with the engine on, ready to go. The garage door opens and the villain is standing there with a gun. And it's such a small scale climax to a movie, because like all the movies, Tung, you and I have been watching, the climax involves a big blue light going up in the sky, buildings being demolished, debris everywhere. Don't get me wrong, I love that kind of shit. But this was such a personal, small, felt
like showdown.
Well, I mean, it affected me more than, you know, the climax of whatever DC movie has a blue light going up into the sky. It affected me more because I knew the stakes. I know what I like my heroes. You know, I want them to make it.
Yeah, I also like yeah, they have sweet moments like the car wash stuff. It took me a while to understand what that was, what that shot was, but then I understood. But
I wonder how they shot it.
Yeah, that was.
It's like
there was a couple cool shots, like when she goes up the chute, the laundry chute. I thought that was a cool shot.
I think I know how they filmed that one.
Yeah, I had a good idea.
Back in a like a semi like a crawl space, basically. I think she's kind of like laying on her back, crawling up it. But
that's how I thought of it too.
I mean, that's so great though.
But I think the only, like, this is a very minor gripe with the movie, but and it's more like, oh man, like, because that sequence of events, it's like the couple leaves to go in the forest and look for these people. So basically they effectively have like 15 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah, they've got some time.
They spend so long trying to get the girl out, which I guess that was the whole point. They want to get this girl out, whatever. And then they take so long getting out of the garage, but it just it was frustrating as an audience member to be like, get the fuck out of there. And that was just like, and I was just like, at this point, for me, I was like, would I save this girl? I don't even know.
I think that's the kind of question this movie makes you ask yourself, because it's so grounded in reality. Besides the sorry, I'm killing mosquitoes in my house.
All good.
I think the question this makes you kind of ask yourself is it's a very believable premise, in the sense that like all the characters are so well fleshed out that you can start to identify with them and be like, okay, which character would I be in this scenario? Mm-hmm. I hope I would make the right choice. And sometimes even the right choice gets you killed and stuff like that. I don't know, but
I think that the frustrating part was not only the like how slow they took to like try to get out, and I wouldn't even say this part was frustrating. I was just like, oh, it took a little bit more of a suspending disbelief on the fact that the father character, like they're opening the garage, like mid opening the garage, but from the basement to the driveway, he's like already waiting for them, and I was like, well. So I feel like the garage would have opened much sooner, or he would have been out of breath when he got there.
I'm really curious. I think this might have been intentional. I think the two villains represent, once again, this is probably me thinking way too much into it, but this is kind of how I interpret it. The two of them, even when you look at, like, I'm looking at the poster right now, and the IMDb page, the father, George is George. He's kind of like a pretty imposing figure. He's taller than his wife, and he's much wider and broad. He almost reminds me of a slow moving Jason type character, like a slasher. So and whereas his wife is much more of like the other coin, where she's like unhinged and more unpredictable. So where he is very measured and moving and stuff like that. So my brain almost buys it that he has Jason's teleporting power, because he always moves with such direct purpose. You never see him move quickly. So you don't really know how fast he can move. I don't know. It's weird. I definitely agree with you. And I won't lie. I chuckled when the garage opens and he's standing there just with a gun. I chuckled. Yeah. And then got really a little choked up because
when Bill Skarsgård died.
Yeah, it's very sweet, because he knows what's about to happen, and he basically just guns it and gets his girlfriend and the little girl to duck down behind the seats in the car, and then he is shot. Yeah, and I was
also thinking like the distance between the villain and the car, and like how fast they would have had to accelerate for him to like get that much wounds on his face.
He looks pretty gnarly.
It's like, oh man, you look fucked up. But that looks like you would have got that if you were driving, I don't know, like down a street and got hit, basically. But they were like feet away from each other.
I think what we're led to believe is that because he rolls over the car, right? So the car hits him. Even though Skarsgård dies, the car hits the villain. He rolls over the top of the car and I guess lands directly on his face on the driveway. I don't know. His face is fucked up.
It's so fucked up. It looks real messed up.
I will say that this is probably my biggest gripe against the movie. I would have liked to see maybe, because so I believe George starts strangling Jules, doesn't he? Right?
Yep.
And then the little girl, Sweetie Pie, they do the cut from her to the gun that's on the ground, and then she shoots George, I believe, in the head. Yep. I gotta say, I hate that trope. I think this is actually something I've been meaning to propose to you for a ranked, but maybe it's a little too negative. It's like one of those like cliched things that just needs to die and go away, where it's like, oh no, it's like when you hear a gunshot and then you realize the person that got shot was the bad guy holding the gun and not the, you know what I mean? It's this one overused thing. And I was probably my only real sticking point with the movie, where I would have liked to see something else, but it's perfect. Like it's the way
it makes sense to the movie. And I think my biggest gripe of the movie is I hate the silent child character in the way that like I think they could have made that character like open up a little bit, get us to like empathize with her, because everything you're getting is like the Jules character just basically projecting what she thinks about this child, which she was apparently right about the entire time. But it's just like, I would have just like the child literally gets one line and she gets to shoot the villain in the head, which is a big moment. But I think it would have been a bigger moment emotionally if I got to know this kid a little bit more from her point of view.
Yes,
because I don't.
I think they could have done, and I think it's actually not simple, but I think there's an easy-ish fix for this, where I would have loved to see one nice moment between our two heroes and the little girl once they had finally gotten her unchained, like literally like taking her to the door and then like, oh wait, we got to put her coat on or something like that. Like one sweet moment of Bill Skarsgård and Micah, I don't know how to say her name. Just the two of them almost being like parents in a moment, like just one snapshot of like, oh, these kids, to show us like, oh, they are now this girl's parent. And where they just show that and then have the kids smile or do something nice, maybe go to one of those little jokes that they had, like one of those effective jokes, and then go right back to the tension. I think it would maybe make that, because you don't know what the little girl's thinking. You never know what she's thinking. And I think it works well in the beginning, because you didn't expect her to like bite Skarsgård and actually end up getting our two heroes caught. It's kind of her fault, but I don't feel like her shooting the villain at the end is enough redemption for the little girl as a character. I would have liked to see maybe one more nice moment.
Yeah, it's just a little bit more. Obviously, I'm nitpicking and stuff like that. Like I did like it. I like that part. It's just, you're right. That part was just like I wasn't like shocked to see that. No, I'm like, oh, it's she's like, definitely going to pick up that gun and shoot him in the head, and she does.
It's like spoilers for Logan. The same fucking thing happens in Logan. And it's probably my only strike against that movie. I have no problem with, what's the little girl's name? Laura. I have no problem with Laura killing X-24. I just didn't want it to be the tried and true cut to villain, cut to gun on the ground, cut to our seemingly weak sidekick, cut back to gun is gone. Villain is shot in the head. We see it so much.
Damn, now I want to watch Logan.
I know, I gotta watch Logan. But so that's the thing. Much like Logan and this movie, like I would say both of these are really good. They're good movies. I would even maybe say really good. But there's a few things that just kind of, the things that keep it from greatness aren't necessarily strikes against it. They're just not in favor for it. Like, like this thing, I wouldn't say it makes me hate the movie. It's just, if that had a more creative angle to it, I could see it being an even more like
an elevated version of that.
I see why it kind of went under people's radars. But
it's it's fine. I think that's what this movie is, right? Like at the end of the day, this movie is a small movie. It's like gives you that indie feel of like, this is like a really small independent movie where like there's it's a smaller story, lot like smaller scale. Production is obviously also smaller. Cast is smaller, but they're just looking to tell this story, and that's what they do.
I would say so. One last thing, I would say this movie accomplishes what it sets out to do.
Yeah.
And totally. Just one last thing. So our villain is killed. George is shot in the head, and this is moments after he had planned to run away with his evil, crazy wife. And she comes out with her bags packed.
Oh yeah, great moment.
And she's talking to George, whose face is all mangled, and there's a big bullet hole through his head. She's talking to him as though he's sleeping in the driveway, just taking a quick nap before their trip. And it's great. It's like truly a really good moment, because our heroes, our two remaining like live good guys, are like, what the fuck is happening? And she just kind of sits down, and you can tell there's so many levels to her performance. Like I wish we had more of a trained actor like Leslie Cherapy on here to talk about like her performance, because like there's so many layers to it. You can tell that she's pretending that he's like, she as a character is aware that he's dead, but she's trying not to acknowledge it.
It's
And
that like unhinged
so
thing that
great.
you were talking about for sure.
Oh God, it's so great. It's
And then the movie ends with them selling shells on the beach, just exactly what they said. So that definitely makes sense on a story perspective. So
that's the thing. Like it has the movie. It's a lot. It reminds me It reminds me a bit like Breaking Bad, where I don't think the ending of Breaking Bad blows anyone's minds, but it is. If you watch the first episode of Breaking Bad, you're like, well, that's the ending this show needs to have. There's certain boxes that are checked that need to kind of be payoff at the end, and I think this movie's a lot like that, where every payoff, everything that needs to pay off does. And then
I think it goes back to like, I think this would have had, again, this is me just rewriting some of the movie, but if the child character was a little bit more than them opening up a seashell shop together, and like you see them smiling and having fun and doing all these like fun things together, it's just like, I just don't care about their relationship as much because I don't care about this kid.
No, I get you for sure. I think that ending would so not even to say the kid's performance isn't great, because I think the kid accomplishes exactly what they want her to do. I just wish they got the kid to do
more. Anything.
I wish she was a bit more of an active player at the midway point of the movie, rather than the final moments of the movie.
Exactly.
You know, it's almost Deus Ex Machina type thing where you're like, and then the kid saves them. But I want to actively, when the kid saves Jules, I want to think in my head, what exact moment kind of signaled this for me? And I think a nice, cute moment where she smiles and even just like holds hands with both of our heroes to show that she's fully with them. I think something like that would have gone.
Man, we could have wrote a better movie. That's what you're saying.
This movie up.
maybe next improv punch up. But hey, Angus, that's the end of our discussion about villains.
Oh.
Now I need you to arbitrarily rank this movie on your own scale.
Okay.
What would you rate this movie?
I give this movie, Villains from 2019. I give
any scale you want.
Any scale I want. Okay, yeah. I'm going to give it 5 car washes out of a possible 5.5 car washes.
Wow.
Yeah. And when I say car wash, I don't mean an actual car wash. I mean the cute thing our heroes do in the movie where they run their hair across each other's faces. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Okay, so 5 hair car washes out of 5.5 hair car washes.
I think when I say car washes, people know what I'm talking about.
Well, I assume they're only listening to this episode if they watch the movie, but who knows?
I feel like people are going to listen to this and then not watch the movie if they haven't seen it.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
But hey, that's the end of the show today for Talking Tongue. Thank you, Angus, for being on the show.
Thank you, Tongue, for having me.
Now, do you have any plugs for the people at home?
I do. If you like podcasts and you like the Pod Cavern, you like superheroes and improv and such and whatnot and all the silly stuff we get up to, I host a show on the Pod Cavern called Heroes Don't Do Paperwork. And it's an interview show in which a fictionalized version of myself interviews people with superpowers and what it would be like to live in a society in which most of the population has the ability to fly or turn into a dump truck or shoot bananas out of their eyes. It's a fun show. Check us out on the podcast. Heroes Don't Do Paperwork.
Yes, please check that out and check out the rest of the shows in the Pod Cavern at www.podcavern.com. That's it for the show today. We're going to see you next week. Now, before we go, Angus has a catchphrase to share with you all.
Yep. Don't ever save children.
And with that, we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.